my social experiment. I'm the piano encourager. If you're new here, I'm learning to play this keyboard here, this piano, and I'm hoping that through my learning journey, through the progress I'm making, that gives you some encouragement to start on your learning journey as well. And if you have started, that you can keep at it. So I try and film every now and again just to show you the progress I'm making, and that offers you some encouragement. As I always say, it's never too late to start, and I'm rooting for you. We're in this together. Let's do this. Yes, we can. If you have started, how's it been this last few weeks? Hope you've been able to learn some new stuff and that you've been able to practice. Keep at it. What do I want to talk about today? So the last time I posted a video, I talked about my perspective on life, on the glass always being half full as opposed to half empty. And how do I relate this? How did I relate this to our learning journey? Essentially, if you started learning whatever it is, a new language or to swim or whatever it is you're learning, the fact that you started means that you're making progress. That the things that you've learned now, which you would not have learned if you hadn't started on this journey. So taking me as an example, I started my learning journey about 6 or so months ago, learning to play the piano. And I can definitely say to you, there's lots of things I've learned in those 6 months, which I wouldn't have learned if I hadn't started on this journey. So on this video, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna give you some of the things I've learned so that it helps you, encourages you, and you can then reflect back as well and say, oh, what have I learned since I've started on your learning journey as well? And hope that encourages you and keeps on motivated, because the more we learn, the more we want to learn. And I'm going to talk about 10 things I've learned. You might say, why 10? I've learned more than 10 obviously, but I'm just going to do 10 is a nice round number. So let's just do 10 things I've learned since I've started learning to play the piano. Number one thing, let's start with a fun fact. The piano is a shortened version of Cristofori's original name for the instrument, piano e forte, meaning soft and loud. This Italian chap called Bartolomeo Cristofori, who lived from 1655 to 1731, like I said, an Italian chap, he invented the piano around about 1700. And you find that a lot of the words associated with the piano, therefore Italian words. I suppose that kind of makes sense, and I'll mention some of those words later on. So that's a fun fact. The word piano is actually a shortened version of the longer word piano forte. Why am I speaking in Italian? But you understand what I mean. Second, the piano has a group of black and white notes which form a repeatable pattern. The black notes are grouped in a sequence of 2 black notes followed by 3 black notes. You know, I've been staring at this piano for however long. I didn't notice that, but once I started learning, I picked that up, that actually there's a pattern to the notes. So 2 black notes followed by 3 black notes. Third thing I've learned, the white notes on the keyboard are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A to G. And this becomes quite important when you begin to learn how to read music. When playing the piano, get a manuscript, you need to know what those notes denote, if it's an A, B, C, but it becomes quite important when you're learning to read music. The fourth thing I've learned is the middle C. The middle C note, when you look at any keyboard, the middle C note is at the center of the keyboard. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you see that I always start with my middle C. Place my thumb on the middle C with the right hand or the left hand, the thumb on the middle C, and then I can then navigate myself around the keyboard. That's another thing. Each of those letters, each of those alphabets, you play them with a particular finger. So that's one thing you learn as well when you learn to play the piano. You need to have the hand placements on particular fingers, using particular fingers. Number 5, similar to a heartbeat, music has a beat. It has a pulse. There's a way, so you can play the music quite fast or you can play the music quite slow. So there's a beat to the music, there's a beat to playing the piano. And this just refers to how long you hold the key down for. So if you're holding it down for 1 beat, that's called a crotchet. If you're holding it down for 2 beats, that's called a minim. If you're holding it down for 4 beats, that's called a semi-breve. So these are things I've just picked up in terms of how I'm playing the music. So that's C. It's quite good, isn't it? All these things I've learned since I've started learning on my learning journey. Number 6, music has what's called a time signature as well. You know, when you pick up a piece of music and you want to play the piano, and you look at it, the first thing you see, there's a fraction. It looks like a fraction, so it could be 3/4 or 4/4. That's called the time signature, and it tells you how many beats in a bar. A bar is just a combination of notes that you play as a measure. So if you're playing 4 beats in a bar or 3 beats in the bar, it just tells you how quickly you're playing that music. So that's something else I've learned. Number 7, when reading music, the notes are written on a 5-line stave. It's called a stave. So 5 horizontal lines. And the music, when you're reading the music, the notes are written either on the line or in the spaces between the lines. So that's quite important. And what then happens is that when you're playing the music, you focus on these notes and then you know what you're doing then. Number 8, for high notes and mainly the right hand, we use what's called the treble clef. So you're playing with the right hand, the treble clef. And for low notes, mainly the left hand, we play the bass clef. Now, this is the trickiest bit I find, because when you're reading generally, you're reading 1 line at a time. But obviously, when you're playing the piano, you're playing with both hands. So the treble clef or the bass clef would determine if you're playing with the right hand on the left or with the left hand. And that's at the beginning of the piece of the music as well. But because you play them simultaneously, that can be quite tricky. But it's fun. It's fun. It's all about learning. It's about having fun, right? So although it's quite tricky, it's a good thing to learn how to do, to learn how to read 2 lines simultaneously. Reading 2 lines simultaneously while knowing where to place your hands and play the notes. So that's number 8. Number 9, there's a term in music called dynamics. So that's the volume control. So in music, especially when playing the piano, you can play quite softly or you can play quite loudly. So when you're reading music, when you're reading the music related to a piano, sometimes there'll be a P which says piano, means played softly, and then you can sometimes see an F, forte, meaning play it loudly. And that's the dynamic. So you're playing the music, you can play, sometimes you're playing it softly, and sometimes you're playing it loudly. So there's other bits as well that are called other dynamics that you use, other terms you use when you're playing the music that relate to dynamics. So you can have a mezzo piano, means play quite quietly, and you can have a mezzo forte, play quite loudly. all these Italian words. Number 10, final one. You know, I said at the beginning that the piano was invented by Bartolomeo Cristofori, Italian chap. So a lot of the terms used with the piano are Italian words. So I've told you about piano, which means softly, and forte, meaning loudly. But we have other Italian words that we use as well in relating to the piano. For example, there's the word staccato. Staccato means just sharp and short, quite bouncy, dun, 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 just short and sharp. And the opposite of staccato is legato. So it means you're playing it quite smoothly, without gaps. You're playing the notes quite smoothly without gaps. This is one we've heard of. Crescendo, as in the music is getting increasingly louder, crescendo. And then we have decrescendo, the music is getting progressively quieter, right? There's another one which my music teacher tells me about, and I practice all the time, is arpeggio. It's just a combination of notes. I still don't quite understand why I'm playing that all the time, but my music teacher said it helps me, so that as I do the arpeggios as well as part of my practice. So those are my 10 things I've learned. Actually, I'll give you a bonus one as well. A bonus one. I've learned patience, and patience is truly a virtue. Because when you're learning to play, when you're learning anything, playing a musical instrument or learning anything new, it takes time. There's no instant gratification here. There's no such thing as an overnight success. You have to be patient with yourself. You get frustrated, but you have to learn patience, because it will come, I promise you. You will learn it, it will come with time. When I reflect back to where I was some 6 months ago and where I am now, I've made tremendous progress, and that's by just being patient with myself and just taking my time. So patience is a virtue, not overnight success. Practice, practice, and practice some more. Well, so those are the 10 things I wanted to share with us. But more importantly, for those who have been on my channel before, what I tend to do, I play a piece that I've learned recently so I can show you my progress. But today, I want to talk about what I think is quite important: brain health. Brain health. So it's good to be healthy. And when we talk about our health, we normally focus on our physical health and our mental health. So the body, the vessel we're in, keeping that fit, but also being mentally healthy, emotionally healthy in terms of our emotional well-being, you know, being happy, managing our stress levels, managing our anxiety, and just being emotionally well, you know. And there's also talk about gut health, you know, when they talk about taking prebiotics to keep the bacteria in our stomach healthy. But I want to talk about brain health. And why is brain health so important? The brain is like any other muscle. It's like a muscle in the body. And the more we exercise it, the more we keep it fit and healthy. You know, you go to the gym and you lift those dumbbells, you lift those weights, keeping those biceps fit and strong. You know, you work on your 6-pack or whatever it is, by keeping the body healthy. You know, we go for walks, we meditate, you know, we're keeping our mind and being mentally healthy, you know, helping us to manage stress. But what do we do for our brains to keep our brains healthy? How do we exercise our brains? And what are the benefits of exercising our brains? It keeps the likes of diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's at bay. So we should focus on brain health as well. And that is why it's important, if we can, to try and learn a new hobby, a new skill. Learn something new constantly. We should be on a journey of continuous learning all the time, keeping those brain cells active, firing those neural pathways. As my music teacher said to me, that whenever we learn to play, whenever I'm learning to play an instrument, the piano, as I'm learning a new letter, for instance, I'm firing off neural pathways in my brain, and that is keeping the brain active. So this is what I implore all of us to do. Let's form a habit of continuous learning. Carry on learning. It's so important. Keeps us, we want to be physically fit, emotionally, mentally fit, and we want to be brain fit as well. So that's my little nugget for today. I hope you can reflect on this and say that when you look at your journey as well, give yourself a pat on the back for what you've learned so far, and that encourages you to keep on learning. So that's it. Keep learning, carry on learning. So until next time, be kind to yourself and be encouraged. Ciao.